You ever have one of those days where it feels like your brain is like your computer with every single tab open? Yes. That is how I have felt today, and that is how it has felt to keep up with the absolute insane chaos that this administration has been conjuring up. And yes, it is a conjuring, right? Because we know that they have had these plans in place for 4 years now. Democrats are acting like this is all brand new and are starting to get their sea legs. But at this point, our democracy is pretty much done. So button up, buckle up, do all of the things that you've been doing to conjure some peace, because I'm going to bring you through what I am referring to as the Wizard of MAGA America. Are you ready? Because surely no one else has been. So here's the deal. I saw this meme this week on Instagram, and it was comparing Donald Trump, as we see here, to the Wizard of Oz. And it got me thinking, this is exactly right. What was the story of the Wizard of Oz? The 1939 classic had Dorothy, right? Wanting a bigger, better life. So she decides to run away from home. She falls, bumps her head, and lands in this wonderful land of Oz, where they tell her, right, Glenda the Good Witch and others, that if you head to Oz, he will make all of your problems go away. You will get everything that you need. He's powerful. He's great, right? He's amazing. And along her journey, she runs into the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, right? And the Lion, all looking for love, intellect, and right? Community. And in their journey, they recognize the power that they have in the unit that they've created. And when they get to Oz and they see this beautiful, glorious place, they're thinking again, this man is going to do everything that we need. He's going to provide for us in the way that everyone said that he would provide. Then they get there, and what does he hand them? Yet another set of obstacles. And against what they think that they can do, they manage once again to overcome. Not because he had provided them with anything more than another problem, but because they banded together and they were able to what? Overcome. So when they turn back to Oz and they pull back the curtain, what do they find? Nothing more than an old, frail, scared man that had created and conjured this idea, this perception of power. That is Donald Trump, or it was, until millions of Americans decided, like Dorothy did, that they just wanted somebody to provide for them. They wanted somebody to make the egg prices go down. They wanted somebody who was going to bring back the good old days. Except now, it is past time for America to pull back the curtain and see that Donald Trump isn't just a frail old man being used as a puppet, but he has appointed the real power, the person who created the machine, the billionaire Elon Musk. And so, what is it that the people need to take from the story of the Wizard of Oz? It is that the only way that we're actually going to persevere, the only way that we are going to manage to get through all of the obstacles that are being put in our way, is if we band together. and find the courage and the intellect and the love of community to make it actually fucking work. It is beyond me, beyond me. The more that we begin to pull back, the more that we see that, honestly, aside from, I don't know, the bullshit battle that is being waged on diversity, equity, and inclusion, the white supremacist crusade, there is something else even more nefarious at play. And boy, oh boy, are we going to walk through it today. So, tonight at midnight, my interview with Lois Parsley of The Lever will drop. And in that, we discuss this article right here that I'm giving you all a sneak preview today before it drops with the new abnormal at 12 a.m. In this article, Lois has gone into deep investigation to uncover what is behind Donald Trump's big plans for Greenland. She writes, Trump's tech donors have big plans for Greenland. A Trump takeover of Greenland could open the door to tech moguls' mineral interest and their utopian aspirations. Here's the funny thing. In 2019, when Donald Trump first uttered this insane idea of annexing Greenland, everyone from late night talk show hosts to SNL all absolutely laughed it off. Donald Trump is crazy. Ha ha ha. Isn't it so funny? This is ridiculous. Like, isn't the time of colonization behind us? Right? Like, we're no longer living in the age of explorers that are going around to, oh, let me say this, uninhabited lands. We know that this was bullshit. But the fact is, what Lois uncovers in this article is that, yeah, it's actually not a joke. And it never was. So she writes this. Though the island is not for sale, the president emphasized Greenland's importance to U.S. national security. Left unspoken, a U.S. takeover could weaken the country's mining laws and ban on private property, aiding Trump's donors' plans to profit from the island's mineral deposits and build, folks, hold on to your hats, a libertarian techno city. It goes on. The president's renewed intention to take over Greenland has reignited debates over its sovereignty as the country grapples with the trade-offs between economic opportunity and independence from Denmark. As the country's glaciers recede, it's also facing sweeping climate-driven transformations, threatening traditional industries like fishing and hunting and exposing valuable mineral resources. These shifts have prompted interest from powerful players associated with Trump. Tech moguls in the front row of his inauguration, like Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, are also investors in a startup aiming to mine Western Greenland for materials crucial to the artificial intelligence boom. Folks, here's the deal. They want Greenland, and it isn't a joke. They want Greenland because what Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos' new, I don't know, startup that they have, what they have found is that all around Greenland has all the materials needed for their artificial intelligence, right? Technocracy that they are building. You see, when I talk to you about DeepSeek, right? The Chinese AI that came out that was what? The Chinese spent $5.6 million to essentially make a mock open AI. That came on the heels of Donald Trump announcing a $500 billion investment into AI, calling it the new quote unquote moonshot. Except all of this is the biggest fucking grift we've ever seen. It is a heist beyond scale. Greenland and Canada are areas of the world that have an exorbitant amount of minerals, oil, and resources that the United States does not have. The plan here is either to bankrupt these countries, right? And pressure them with tariffs, or as Donald Trump has said, he is not above using military action in order to annex Greenland. This is a sovereign fucking nation, much in the same way that Canada is, much in the same way that Panama is. Folks, but this is all about colonization 2.0. These technocrats see themselves as the new adventurers. And the company that Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos have, that company, Cobalt Metals, uses artificial intelligence, as is written in this piece, uses artificial intelligence to locate and extract rare earth minerals. So they've used Cobalt Metals, their new AI locator, to find out that all along the southwest of Greenland's rugged coastline, as is written in this piece, is where they found their bounty. Folks, when we talk about a motherfucking grift, when we talk about the fact that this has nothing to do with what AI can do for the average person. This is the broligarch technocrat takeover of the world. This is the remake of Manifest Destiny. Except instead of it being different empires, the Ottoman Empire, the Roman Empire, right? That are going around the world picking up land. It is the broligarchs, the Zuckerbergs and the Bezos and the Musks of the world that are looking at the globe as monopoly pieces on their giant grifting ass board. They don't care who's in Greenland, much in the same way that the colonizers didn't give a fuck who existed in America before Columbus, by the way, didn't discover it. They didn't care who existed on the continent of Africa. It is the same thing over again, just centuries later. And instead of them being on pirate ships, coming in with drunken pirates settling and putting flags in the ground, they are creating these startup companies that are going in to do research when the whole point of the research is extraction. And if they can't get what they want, right? If they can't get what they want by just floating out ideas like, oh, let me buy Greenland as if it's for sale, then they are going to bully these countries into economic despair. It is absolutely mind-blowing. Since 2019, we thought that this was all a joke. But thank God for reporters at The Lever like Lois Partially, who is connecting the dots for us. Because these people are not interested in doing good at all. They are interested, they are in their own race to see who can become the first trillionaires, who can recolonize the earth. And this is what I also believe. And let me say this, because this is what I also believe. This whole farce and push around trying to erase diversity, equity, and inclusion, this whole push to do away with aggressive critical thinking in schools and remake curriculum. I have said before, and you've heard me say this, that this is largely about creating a permanent underclass in America, right? But it's about creating a permanent underclass around the world, because you see, what America does, other countries will follow and have. And so here we are at this place where it's not enough that you see African nations, right, are waking up all over the place and they're like, yeah, you're coming in here for our cobalt, right? You're coming in here for the minerals that make the iPhone, that make tech run for the rest of us. And we have no idea where things are coming from. But these countries are starting to be like, yeah. So no, we don't want you here anymore. And we're actually putting together policies that say that you can't buy land, which is exactly what South Africa is doing. We talked about this earlier in the week, that South Africa, following apartheid, where a majority of the land was owned by white Africans, they have tried to amend the huge racial divide that still exists, particularly economically, where they are trying to confiscate, right, land that is owned by white Africans and redistribute. And this is exactly why Elon Musk has whispered in Donald Trump's ear and he said, oh no, cut them off. They're racist, right? Why? One, because he's a racist white South African that grew up under apartheid. But two, because it's minerally rich. And if you can pressure these countries with the threat of tariffs that could absolutely cause economic destabilization, you weaken them, they begin to bend to your will. And then you begin the slow land by land grab. And then their techno cities, their technocracies move from fantasy, move from manifesto to real life acquisitions. And I'm telling you that these motherfuckers, they're willing to go to war for it. Because, like I continue to say, their greed knows no bounds. They are absolutely insatiable. They are never going to be satisfied until the world, right, bends to their will. And if they can't get them to do it by virtue of economic threat, then they absolutely will do it by force. That's the place that we are headed. And I'm so grateful for actual reporting that is happening in places like the Lever. And I encourage everybody to listen to the interview that I did, that it will be up at 12 a.m. On the New Abnormal. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts, and listen to the interview, because I said to Lois before I read your piece, before I did some investigation thereof, I had no idea. Why Greenland, of all places? Like, what are they after? And that's the question that we actually need to continue to ask ourselves. On the face, it may seem like a joke. On the face, it may seem like more fuckery. And to some extent, it is. But what's underneath is actually where the danger lies. And so there we move into Canada and where we are with Canada. So basically, here's the thing. Donald Trump has done irrevocable, because I can't say that word, harm to our relationship with our neighbor. I believe that every move that Donald Trump is making against our allies is putting America in grave danger because the Chinese, the Russians, they're all chomping at the bit because the vacuum that America is leaving around the world, oh, it will be filled. And so right now, there is a resurgence of national pride, not to say that there wasn't, but now it's huge because under the threat of basically bankrupting, putting Canada in economic turmoil, 50% of the goods that Canada takes in comes from the United States, right? The United States is Canada's largest trading partner. So if you put a 25% tariff on everything in Canada, what do you think is going to happen? They are going to work to destabilize Canada. So the joke around making Canada the 51st state, again, has everything to do with the oil that they have, because we think in this country that a majority of our oil comes from the Middle East. It does not. A majority of our oil comes from Canada. So this trade war, which I told you earlier this week, the Wall Street Journal called the stupidest trade war, the dumbest trade war, and the editorial board wrote an entire piece about it, which shocked the shit out of me because it's owned by Murdoch, right? Rupert Murdoch. So here we have Trump tariffs made something snap in us. Many Canadians see U.S. rift beyond repair. With the U.S. being the largest customer for Canadian goods, the tariffs threaten to push the Canadian economy into a recession and put thousands of jobs at risk. In addition to the tariffs, Trump has stated repeatedly, possibly as a joke, here we go again, with this being a joke, and we have to go underneath to ask ourselves, what is the true intention here? That Canada should instead become a U.S. state to avoid paying the levy. A remark that has been met with fury from Canadians and has been seen by some as a threat to their sovereignty. Because, by the way, what does Canada, or Greenland for that matter, have to gain from becoming a part of the United States? What? An increase in gun violence, no longer having free health care. We're already going to erode and gut public education. So what exactly is the benefit of being a part of America, Trump's America? I see absolutely none. In countries that actually use the tax dollars to invest back in the people of that country and use their tax dollars not just to bolster the military, but actually bolster social safety nets and things that the people need. So you see, the people of Canada have a high life expectancy, whereas in the United States, ours is rolling back and has been since COVID. Moving on to the billionaire, aka Elon Musk, and what the boys, because they are 19 and 20-year-olds, have been up to at Doge, the made-up agency that the billionaire now leads. So earlier this week, Elon Musk went after who? USAID. What does USAID do? Oh, well, they are the biggest providers of food and resources, right? Medicine to underdeveloped countries, right? Countries that essentially we have colonized, bankrupted, and played political chess with so that they've never been able to be stable. So, our philanthropic arm has been, guess what? Investigating Starlink. Who runs Starlink? Elon Musk. Elon Musk's enemy, USAID, you know, who he called a criminal operation because it's criminal to provide HIV medications to pregnant women with HIV. It's criminal to provide food to regions like the Sudan that are suffering, right, from hunger. It's criminal to provide clean water and resources because that's what Elon Musk believes, right? For those that are starving to death, for those who need life-saving medications, Elon Musk sees those people, the most vulnerable, as unworthy. And anyone who seeks to help those that are most vulnerable, that he could literally help with one pinky, he chooses to defund and shut down an entire fucking agency that is literally going to cost millions of people their lives. Okay? And the whole reason, now we know, again, look underneath what is being done and what is being said. Elon Musk went after USAID not because, right? Oh, not just because of the fact that he doesn't give a fuck about Black people or people of color, right? That's just like the cherry on top of the racist sundae. It is because they had opened up, like the Department of Justice under Joe Biden had opened up investigations into Elon Musk's business dealings. We go on. Since coming into power, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has barraged USAID, the international aid agency that dispenses food and supplies to nations all over the world. It is likely that the agency will soon be shuttered and could be subsumed into the U.S. State Department. Now, new reporting shows USAID was actually investigating equipment from one of Musk's companies at the time that he attacked the agency. Once again, folks at the lever. Reported Tuesday that USAID's Inspector General was in the process, folks, of investigating its own public-private partnership between Musk Starlink and the Ukrainian government at the time. The billionaire Doge crippled the agency. All of this, by the way, was publicly available. But I'm asking you, did anybody else see this in mainstream corporate media? Did you get a breaking news alert on your phone from the New York Times, the Washington Post, USA Today, LA Times, or any of the major outlets that made this connection, that made it headline news, that Elon Musk was working to shut down an agency that helps the most vulnerable communities around the world, not just because he's an overt white nationalist, but because they were investigating him? So if you are not following independent media, indie media, folks, you are not going to get any information whatsoever. All of this is just going to be like, oh, it's just a coincidence. So here we go on. The information, publicly available information about the probe is still online. An announcement from last May reads, the USAID Officer of Inspector General Inspections and Evaluations Division is initiating an inspection of USAID's oversight of Starlink satellite terminals provided to the government of Ukraine. Our objectives are to determine how, one, the government of Ukraine used the USAID provided Starlink terminals, and two, USAID monitored the government of Ukraine's use of USAID's provided Starlink terminals. Now, if you remember, I believe it was at the behest of Putin, Elon Musk shut down Starlink over Taiwan because the Chinese president elbowed his buddy Putin and said the Taiwanese, which they want to, take back, are using Starlink. And if we shut that down, then they won't be able to have information sharing. Do you see how all of this fascist, authoritarian dictatorship is all fucking connected? And how all of it seems to lead back to Elon Musk? Does everybody see this? That everything that is bad leads back to the billionaire Elon Musk. By the way, I did not invent that term. I wish I did. I don't know who did, but bravo. I am telling you, we are in some absolute world of shit. And it is a world, frankly, of our own making. Because who was lifting up and celebrating all of these tech giants? They've been on the cover of every magazine, every paper, at Davos, at Ideas Festival, at South by Southwest, being hailed for their open workforces. And remember their campuses that they were creating, and everything was, oh, let's all follow the tech bros. Let's give them access to everything because they'll make everything great. What have we learned? Absolute power does what? Corrupts. Absolutely. All of these tech people started out community builders. Do you all remember? I was at dinner last night, and a friend of mine reminded me, do you remember how Amazon started? All those many, many, many moons ago, Amazon, the book company, Amazon, the book company that Oprah's Angel Network put on, that Jeff Bezos ingratiated himself to America and to the world through Oprah and the Angel Network and the book clubs. And now look where we are. It is just, it's really sometimes important to go backwards and remember how things started so that you can understand how we got here. And, I think it was somebody else who said to me that Facebook, didn't Mark Zuckerberg start Facebook because of some girl rejecting him and needing to build community, or trying to shame said girl? So Facebook started out of misogyny. All of these people are just going back to their roots, right? And they figured out, yes, thank you, Lisa Marie. It was to rate girls. That's how Facebook started. So are we honestly surprised that Mark Zuckerberg would go back to his incel misogynist ways, because they just ride whatever wave is popular. They're like a virus, and they just look for new hosts, right? So first, the host was, oh, we'll build these open campuses. We'll have this fun, free culture. We'll want to bring people to work here. Then they amass more and more power, and the people around them start to get wealthier and wealthier. And then they're just like, no, you have too much. So now we need to cramp everything down and make it smaller so that I seem bigger. All of it, dear friends, comes back to greed, hypercapitalism. We have got to figure out a way to divest. It is the only way, because they have created the demand. They've stirred within us all the desire, right? It's like they gave you a little bit of a hit. They're pushers. And now we can't seem to consume enough. And they can't seem to make enough. Somewhere, somehow, the cycle has got to be broken. Yeah, people are in the chat talking about all of the things, all of the people that Oprah is responsible for, frankly, that have all turned out to be these right-wing fucking nuts, from Dr. Oz to Dr. Phil, Jeff Bezos, and like the rest of them. It's a lot of folks. I don't know what that means, but like, yo, it's not just one person. It's like a series of them. As I close out today, as you all know, it is our call to action Thursdays, the day where we try and end the week for those of you who are new, with what can we actually do, right? Like what we're feeling. You get all of this information all week long, and then it becomes overwhelming. And look, I totally, absolutely get it, because frankly, I feel overwhelmed on a regular basis. And so I looked for opportunities, right? Like, where inside of the obstacles that we are being presented with, where are the opportunities for us to take action, to feel like we are doing something? And so I introduced to all of you earlier in the week, Deepa Iyer from the Building Movement Project has created this incredible ecosystem map, the social change ecosystem map. And in it, she's laid out all of the different roles there are for people inside of movements to create equity, liberation, justice, and solidarity. And I really, 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 truly encourage everybody to check out the Building Movement Project's website. This is my call to action. This is an organization that you need to follow. And let me walk you through. The social change ecosystem map is a framework that can help individuals, networks, and organizations align with social change values, individual roles, and the broader ecosystem. The social change ecosystem roles, I'm just going to remove the banner so that we can all see. And by we, I mean me, because I couldn't see it all. You have, these are some of the roles. Weavers. These are people. We see through the lines of connectivity between people, places, organizations, ideas, and movements. There are the experimenters. We innovate, pioneer, and invent. We take risk and course correct as needed. Frontline responders. We address community crises, by marshaling and organizing resources, networks, and messages. Visionaries. We imagine and generate our boldest possibilities, hopes, and dreams, and remind us of our direction. Builders. We develop, organize, and implement ideas, practices, people, and resources in service, collective vision. And then here is the other list. Caregivers. We nurture and nourish the people around me by creating and sustaining a community of care, joy, and connection. Healers. We recognize and tend to the generational and current traumas caused by oppressive systems, institutions, policies, and practices. Disruptors. We take uncomfortable and risky actions to shake up the status quo, to raise awareness, and to build power. Storytellers. We craft and share our community stories, cultures, experiences, histories, and possibilities through art, music, media, and movement. Guides. We teach, counsel, and advise, using my gifts of well-earned discernment and wisdom. So these are the roles that she has identified, Deepa has identified inside of the social change ecosystem. And saying, as I've said many times over, everyone has a role to play inside of the resistance. Everyone's resistance and action does not look the same. So where do you see yourselves inside of this ecosystem? And so what she offers is how you use the social change map. Step 1, align with values. Step 2, ask what my ecosystem needs of me in this context. And step 3, take action via that role that enables me to bring my skills and experience in service to my ecosystem. Deepa has created a social change now, a workbook, a guide for reflection and connection. And I highly, highly recommend for those that are asking, what can I do? How do I show up? Go to Building Movement Project. Google it. Follow them on social media. They are on Instagram, putting up really great infographics and guides. You can follow Deepa Iyer. She is brilliant. I have done several interviews with her on The New Abnormal, and I'm hoping to bring her to YouTube as well in the future, because I think that the work that she does and what her organization offers is extraordinary, and it gives us all a pathway to be able to move forward in this moment. It gives you some clarity inside of the chaos. Somebody's asking for the link. I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now because I cannot put it up. It is, and I will put it up right here, buildingmovement.org, so that you can find out more information. It is buildingmovement.org. So I encourage everyone to check it out, to check them out, follow them on social media. It is a way for you to identify where your skills are and what you can do moving forward. Because again, our resistance does not all look the same. All right, my dear, dear friends, it is time for me to get out of here. As a reminder, Democracy-ish is live tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern, with my good friend, Wajahat Ali, where we will run down the week's fuckery as only we can do. And the Danielle Moodie Show is back on Monday, 5 p.m. Actually, I do have an alert. The show was going to be back on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern because I am traveling. It is a busy time, dear friends. And when I can travel and take you all with me, I do. When I can't, I can't. But Democracy-ish is live tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern. It will also be live on Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern. The Danielle Moodie Show will be back on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. So thank you to my moderators who keep all of this crazy schedule going. And y'all, we did it. We got to 13,000. 8 days and we hit 13,000. I cannot thank you all enough for the support and dedication that you are showing to this channel, to this work, to each other. I am thrilled at how quickly we are growing, and I am excited for us to hit 14 and 15, 20, 100, and I know all of you will be here when we do. As always, dear friends, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane. And in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, please do stay safe. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I will see you all back here tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern for Democracy-ish. Until then, be well. Appreciate y'all.